You know, when you think about someone like Thomas Edison, uh, barely any formal schooling, right? But his inventions, well, they changed everything.
Right. Or Henry Ford.
Yeah,
Less than a sixth grade education, apparently. And he builds this massive fortune, this whole industry.
exactly. So what if there's like something more to it than just elbow grease? Today we're diving into a book that claims it has a kind of key to that sort of success.
hmm We're getting deep into Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And you, our listener, told us you're looking to grasp knowledge, quickly and really get it. So our mission here is to pull out the absolute core insights from this really influential book.
Think of it as maybe a shortcut.
Yeah, potentially. A
Mm.
shortcut to understanding principles that, well, hundreds of successful people have supposedly used.
And Hill makes this pretty big claim, doesn't he? That if you follow his plan, really stick with it, you might actually uncover the secret formula behind Andrew Carnegie's, staggering wealth.
It's a huge claim. It really is. But it's kept the book alive for, what, nearly a century now?
Yeah. And it doesn't just appear out of nowhere. Hill presents it as like distilled wisdom.
Distilled
Liz,
wisdom, exactly.
Yeah.
From studying hundreds of successful people. And he had endorsements, from presidents, chief justices, big business names like Woolworth back in the day.
So there's some weight behind it.
Definitely suggests a foundation, yeah. Ideas about tapping into your own potential and learning from others.
Okay, so where does Hill start this whole thing? It begins with desire, right? But not just, casually wanting something.
No, not at all. He talks about a definite desire. It's about the intensity, the specificity.
Okay.
He uses this story, Edwin C. Barnes. This guy had this almost obsessive desire to become a business associate of Thomas Edison, not just an employee, mind you.
To work with him, not for him.
Precisely. And Barnes had nothing, really. No money, no connections. He just showed up with this one single burning ambition.
That's a different level of wanting something, isn't it? It's like you're trying to will it into existence.
That's the idea. And Hill says to really make that work, you have to eliminate any possibility of retreat. He calls it burning the bridges.
Ah, right. Like after the Great Chicago Fire.
Exactly. Marshall Field, everyone else is thinking of leaving, and he's like, nope, we rebuild right here. That absolute commitment, that refusal to even consider failing, that's the fuel.
It sounds like the mindset of, pioneers and inventors.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hill mentions Ford dreaming of the horseless carriage, Edison and the light bulb. People laughed, right? They faced huge obstacles, but that intense desire kept them going.
Okay, now let's talk about this secret that keeps popping up in the book. Hill mentions it over and over, but never actually spells it out. Why do that?
Well, it's clever, isn't it? Psychologically. By making it a secret, he forces you, the reader, to actively search for it.
So you have to be engaged looking for clues.
Right. It suggests the understanding has to come from within you. You only grasp it when you're, quote, ready and actively seeking it. It creates this anticipation.
And the story about Carnegie whispering it to Hill, that adds a layer of mystique, too.
Oh, definitely. It makes you feel like you're part of uncovering something really profound. And Hill promises you'll spot it or hints of it in every chapter if you're truly looking.
Keeps you reading closely.
Exactly. Constantly asking, wait, is this the secret?
So after desire, he brings in faith. He calls it the eternal elixir. That sounds powerful.
It's a strong metaphor, yeah. He sees faith as the chemical, if you will, that gives life and power to your thoughts. It's that rock-solid belief that you can achieve your definite purpose. It's the starting block for accumulating anything.
And that ties directly into autosuggestion, the idea that you become what you tell yourself.
Precisely. Your subconscious mind, Hill says, just absorbs what you repeatedly feed it. It doesn't really judge if it's true or false initially if you keep telling it something.
It starts to believe it.
It accepts it as fact. He gives that sobering example of Joseph Grant, whose constant negative self-talk basically led to his own failure, what Hill calls mental suicide.
Wow. That really shows the downside, the danger of negative thinking.
It does. It highlights how crucial it is to be conscious of your internal dialogue. And Hill offers a tool for this, the self-confidence formula.
Right, like a specific statement to repeat.
Yeah, it's structured affirmation. It's designed to deliberately program your subconscious with belief in yourself and your main goal. You state your purpose, demand persistent action from yourself, and promise to deliver that action.
So it's like writing your own internal script for success. But is it just repetition?
Repetition is key, but Hill emphasizes linking it with emotion. Believing it, feeling it, visualizing it. That's what really makes it sink into the subconscious.
Okay.
The exact science. Well, even Hill admits it's baffling, but he insists, based on his observations, that it works, either for good or bad.
Let's shift gears to knowledge. Hill makes a distinction, a big one, between general education and specialized knowledge. He seems to value the specialized kind much more for, well, getting rich.
He did. He looked at Edison, Ford, these guys with limited formal schooling, and saw their power came from applying very specific specialized knowledge to their goals.
So it's not about how much you know overall.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's about having the right knowledge for your purpose and, crucially, knowing how to organize it and put it into action through practical plans. Knowledge alone is just potential.
Application is key.
Exactly. He felt that was the missing link in a lot of education, teaching people how to use what they learn. And he stressed you need to keep acquiring relevant specialized knowledge throughout your career.
Where did he suggest people find this knowledge?
Things like night schools, correspondence courses,
Yeah.
but also learning from experience, from mentors, from your mastermind group, which we'll get to.
Right. And he liked correspondence courses, didn't he? Because they showed initiative.
Yeah, he admired the self-discipline it took. Completing one showed you had decision, persistence, commitment, all vital traits. It wasn't just about the information. It was about building character.
Okay, from knowledge to imagination. The workshop of the mind, he calls it. And he splits it in two. Synthetic and creative.
Synthetic imagination is like rearranging old concepts, ideas, plans into new combinations. Think building with existing Lego bricks.
Okay.
Creative imagination is where, supposedly, new ideas, hunches, inspiration come from. Seemingly out of the blue, maybe from the subconscious or what he calls infinite intelligence.
And for making money, which one does he focus on?
Primarily synthetic. For the practical task of turning desire into money, you need to focus on building concrete plans from existing concepts and knowledge. That's where synthetic imagination shines.
So taking your goal and figuring out the practical steps using what you know or can learn.
Exactly. And he hammers home the importance of writing these plans down.
Why write them down?
It gives concrete form to the intangible. A wish is vague. A written plan is definite. It makes it real, something you can follow, critique, improve. He tells that story about the enchanted kettle.
Oh, yeah, the idea that made a fortune.
Right. The point wasn't the physical kettle or the ingredients. It was the idea, the plan for marketing it. That's what was truly valuable.
And that story about Dr. Gonzalez. This sermon about what he'd do with $1 million.
Powerful example, isn't it? He had this incredibly clear vision, a definite purpose for a new college. And he laid out his plan with such faith and passion in that sermon.
That someone in the audience stepped up with the money.
Exactly. Philip Armour. It shows how articulating a clear plan, born from desire and backed by faith, can actually attract the resources you need.
Okay, let's get into the mastermind. This sounds intriguing, more than just teamwork.
Oh, definitely. Hill defines it as coordinating knowledge and effort between two or more people working in perfect harmony for a definite purpose. His core idea is that nobody has enough experience, education, ability, or knowledge on their own to achieve massive success.
You need to combine forces.
Yes. Create a synergy. The group's combined intelligence and energy become far greater than the sum of its parts. It's about sharing ideas, giving honest feedback, creating plans together.
Like Henry Ford and his circle. Edison, Firestone.
That's a key example Hill uses. Aligning with other powerful minds amplifies your own thinking, gives you perspectives you wouldn't have alone. But it has to be harmonious.
What did he mean by the psychic phase of the mastermind? That sounds a bit out there.
Yeah, the languages of its time. Today we might talk about group flow or heightened intuition or collective intelligence. When a group is truly aligned and focused, there's a kind of shared consciousness that can emerge. Ideas spark faster, solutions appear more easily. It's that feeling when a team is just clicking perfectly.
Right, I get that. Okay, then the book really stresses decision and persistence. Seems obvious, but crucial.
Absolutely crucial. Hill is adamant. You're never truly defeated until you accept defeat in your own mind.
You quit on yourself.
Exactly. Look at James J. Hill, the railway builder, or Ford again. They hit massive roadblocks, temporary defeats, but they didn't quit. They just made new plans.
So a setback is just feedback.
That's how Hill frames it. Temporary defeat is a signal that your plans aren't sound. Fix the plans. Don't abandon the purpose.
Makes sense.
And he insists riches respond to definite demands, backed by definite principles, not just wishing or even just working hard without a clear plan. And a key trait of leaders,
Making decisions?
quick, firm decisions. He contrasts this with the habit of indecision, which he saw as a major cause of failure. He even criticizes the education system for often failing to teach decisiveness.
And he talks about poverty consciousness versus money consciousness. One takes effort, the other just
Right.
happens.
Poverty consciousness, he argues, develops without conscious effort if you don't guard against it. Money consciousness, the belief in abundance and your ability to achieve it, has to be deliberately created and maintained through persistence.
He even mentions a hidden guide testing people.
Yeah, an interesting, almost metaphorical idea that life throws discouragements at you to test your persistence, and only those who keep going arrive. And he lists things that build persistence: definite purpose, desire, self-reliance, clear plans, accurate knowledge, cooperation, willpower, and habit.
Let's move to the 6 ghosts of fear. That sounds pretty dramatic. What are they?
They're the fundamental fears Hill believed hold most people back: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death.
And how do they connect to what we've discussed?
He argues that indecision is the seedling. It grows into doubt, and doubt eventually crystallizes into these fears. They paralyze action.
Which one did he see as the worst?
Fear of poverty. He thought it was the most destructive, maybe linked to an old instinct to prey on others economically. He stresses the importance of absolutely refusing to accept poverty-inducing circumstances.
And these fears show up in our behavior, like procrastination.
Yes, indecision, doubt, worry. They manifest in lots of ways: procrastination, making excuses, negative self-talk, anxiety, even physical symptoms. Fear of criticism is huge, too. How many great ideas die because someone's afraid of what others will think?
Even from parents, he mentions, well-meaning, but still criticism.
Right. It can stifle initiative from a young age. He also connects fear of ill health to negative mental images, sometimes leading to hypochondria. And the other fears loss of love, old age, death while natural, become obstacles when they dominate your thinking.
So what's the antidote to all this fear?
Decision. Prompt, firm decision.
Like the condemned man example.
Exactly. Making a decision, even in the worst circumstances, brings a sense of control and calms the fear. His advice is basically make definite decisions about how you'll handle these potential fears before they grip you. Conquer them proactively in your mind.
Okay, now for a concept that always generates discussion, sex transmutation. What's Hill getting at here?
Okay, so Hill observed that many of the most accomplished people seem to have highly developed sex natures. His theory is that sexual energy, being arguably the most powerful human drive, can be consciously redirected, transmuted, he calls it, channeled away from purely physical expression into other creative outlets: business, art, invention, whatever your definite purpose is.
So not suppressing it, but redirecting that energy, that passion.
Exactly. Harnessing the intensity, the focus, the drive associated with that energy and pouring it into your work or goals.
Yeah.
He believed it could elevate thought, stimulate the creative imagination, even raise you to the level of genius.
He even connects it to salesmanship.
Yeah, he suggests master salespeople, often unconsciously, use this transmuted energy. It fuels their enthusiasm, their magnetism, their persuasiveness. It's about taking that potent force and refining it into motivation and creativity.
Interesting perspective on harnessing our basic drives.
It is a bit controversial maybe, but central to his idea of accessing deeper levels of power.
And all these principles, ultimately, they're aimed at influencing the subconscious mind, right?
That's the goal. The whole book, all 13 steps, are designed to help you consciously impress your desires upon your subconscious mind.
And emotion is key for that.
Absolutely key. The subconscious responds most strongly to thoughts mixed with feeling, positive or negative. That's why faith, desire, and visualizing with emotion are so vital. You have to feel the success you want.
He also briefly touches on, like, vibrations and connecting minds.
He does hint at more esoteric ideas, yeah. The interconnectedness of minds tapping into universal intelligence, suggesting there are intangible forces at play that focused thought can interact with.
So bringing it back to practical application, he mentions the round table idea linked to the mastermind.
Right. It connects the mastermind principle back to a concrete technique: regular harmonious meetings with your group. But he also shares his personal, quite unusual practice.
The imaginary council meetings.
Exactly. Where he'd mentally convene meetings with historical figures he admired: Lincoln, Emerson, Edison, Napoleon, asking them for guidance on his problems.
And the weird part was they started to feel real.
Yeah, he said they developed distinct personalities and habits in his imagination. Lincoln was always late, apparently. It's a fascinating illustration of intense visualization and maybe tapping into different aspects of his own subconscious wisdom through these imagined personas.
It really drives home the idea that this isn't passive reading. You have to actively do this stuff.
Absolutely. Consistent, focused application is everything if you want to see results, maybe even figure out that Carnegie formula for yourself.
Okay, so wrapping up our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, if you had to boil it down, what are maybe 2 or 3 absolute key takeaways for our listener?
Um, First, got to be that definite burning desire. Know exactly what you want and want it intensely. Second, make decisions quickly and firmly. Overcome fear and inertia by choosing a path and sticking to it, adjusting plans as needed. And third, leverage the mastermind. Don't try to go it entirely alone. Harness the power of collaboration.
Makes sense. So think about it, you listening right now. Which of those 6 ghosts of fear may be maybe subtly holding you back? Is it fear of criticism? Fear of failure, which is linked to poverty? And more importantly, what is the one definite desire you're ready to commit to, really commit to, with that unwavering persistence Hill talks about? The book hints that the secret reveals itself when you're truly ready. What might you need to shift in your own thinking to open yourself up to it?